Rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
From the gridiron to the ball diamonds, from the hardwood to the ice rinks, from the fairways to the octagon and everywhere in between. If it makes headlines, it's fair game on the Sports Reel podcast on the PFC Entertainment Network. And we welcome you to the Sports Reel podcast here on the PFC Entertainment Network. Along with Tim Sheridan, I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here a little bit later than we had anticipated to come on the air. But, you know, as they say, better late than never. You always wait to the end for the main event. But truth be told, you know, when we are doing this kind of activity, when we get new toys to play with, we want to take an opportunity to try to get acclimated to them and, you know, try to bring the best, your best foot forward, I guess, for the lack of a better term. Tim got some new toys to play with this week. So we're upgrading our equipment around here, as it were, you know, in both our respective studios. So a little bit later, but you know, we're here nonetheless, and we certainly appreciate everybody who tunes in here tonight as part of the special live stream. We are simulcasting this through Riverside.fm, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. Before we get into this week's headlines in and around the world of sports, Tim, I can only imagine, my friend, that the last few days have been nothing short of busy for you with your shoot job, trying to stay warm in this god awful Arctic vortex that we're in the middle of. How's things in your neck of the woods, my friend?
Cold, real cold, but yeah, it's been busy. Today was even a busy day. Just glad it's over. Get to get home, talk to my wife for a little bit, grab a few beers in me before we start this. I still have to think about dinner. Haven't done that yet, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's been a grind. The last 2 weeks alone have been a grind. So just trying to get through that and trying to fit in regular life as we go at the same time. And it's yeah, all I can say is getting old sucks. My body hurts. You know, yeah, I'm feeling it. But now we're at this. I get to get some beers in me and we get to talk some sports. So I'm fucking excited. And I do have to say, to myself, I sound amazing. Hopefully, everybody else, I sound amazing. Because, yes, I did step up my game and finally got a mixer. So no more USB mic for me. Now I'm stepping up into the world. Now we're all set up all over the damn place now. I saw you got a new headset going on there.
Yeah, listen. This is not what you would call top of the line, but if anybody tuned in last week, we had that really weird echo thing happening with you.
Yeah.
And it also happened earlier last week when I recorded an interview for the flagship show that drops on Tuesdays.
I listened to that. It was the same effect.
Same thing. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? It didn't happen when I recorded with Sean, and it didn't happen when I recorded with Jill. But for whatever reason, you and Todd, there was this really weird echo thing going on, and I didn't know because I had my other equipment set up that my girl had got me that we used on location, and I really love the way my voice sounds on going through that. And I'm like, well, we'll just set everything up here. So I didn't know if that had something to do with it, and I wasn't taking any chances. So I went because I told you I had my basic set up down here with this headset, and I had snapped the headset trying to get everything out. So I'm like, oh hell no. So I got a replacement headset because I know without a shadow of a doubt there wasn't any issues with this setup. Now that you've got an upgrade, your own mixer and your mics and stuff like that, we may try before next week's show to set my other stuff back up and see if it cancels each other out so we don't have that weird echo thing. So
Do you think it was that though? Like when you recorded with Sean, did you record on the new stuff? Because
yeah.
you were on the new stuff the week before that. You snapped it
Mm-hmm.
before, like a week before that. We didn't have that issue.
Yeah, I have no idea what the
I
hell
think it
was going
was
on.
an issue with our, the
Our,
service provider that we use here. I don't want to say who we use, but
our
I,
distributor.
yeah, our distributor. I think it was an issue with that. I don't think it was so much an issue with your equipment because, in the same sense, I'm running a similar setup to what you have on your other equipment too,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not getting an echo from me, right?
Nope. No, you sound
No.
great.
Yeah, and I'm running. I mean, in all transparency, I'm running a Zoom setup here, and you have a Zoom setup, and I think I sound good. And when you were on it, you sounded great too. I don't think it had anything to do with that because you had previously recorded with me with that setup with the Zoom mixer, and we didn't have any issues. The week that you broke your headset, we recorded that week, and no issues there. It wasn't until the week after that we had that issue. All in that
Right.
same week. Have you had any? I know you recorded a few shows this week, but I don't know if you went, remote with anybody yet.
No, I haven't. No. So right now, I mean, and we, like I said, we may try to break out the other stuff because, like I said, I really like I'm not a fan of my voice to begin with. I have a real hard time going back and listening to myself. But on the other hand, I can hear the difference
Yeah.
when I use the Zoom stuff. So we'll see what happens here. But just for the here and now, I wanted to make sure that there were no issues whatsoever, and so I went and picked up a cheap replacement headset for this setup here. But
I
we'll
mean, you
we'll
sound
see
good
what.
still, so
Well, I appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, we have some headlines that we're going to be breaking down here this week, kind of across the board, for the lack of a better term. The first thing that I want to touch on now, the thing about this show, if you are tuning in here for the first time, well, first of all, welcome. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your evening to give this a watch. But a lot of what we talk about, yeah, we dive into facts and figures and stats and all that stuff, but a lot of it is our personal fanfare, our personal feelings for things happening around the sports world. And the one thing that has really come across my radar in the last week since we have recorded last week's show, um, all roads were leading to the NBA All Star game.
Hmm.
And I have made no bones about the fact, and I've said it on air, I've said it in private conversations. I am so disenchanted with what the National Basketball Association has become. And I can pinpoint, from my perspective only, I can pinpoint a lot of the things that really bother me about what the NBA has become to one dude. And when I have had conversations like this, I have been told everything under the sun, like, you don't know what you're talking about. This is just how the sports evolved. This is the way things are now. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that because at the end of the day, there are decision makers in any entity in sports that have the power and the capability to curb the bullshit. The bullshit was on full display going into this past weekend's NBA All Star game because when you talk about the NBA right now, Tim, a lot of people will center the center of the entire league around LeBron James,
Hmm.
who has gone out on every possible forum and has proclaimed himself to be the greatest of all time. Now, there's two things about this. Number one, if you're the greatest of all time, you don't need to tell people you're the greatest of all time. Straight up. Now, I am not what you would call a huge Michael Jordan fan, but I respect the man. I recognize what he has done, what he is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever recall in any interview that I have seen or read or heard him refer to himself as the greatest of all time. His peers have done that.
Yeah.
The fans have done that. He at no point has he ever put that title on himself, much like Mr. James. And this goes to this mentality that he is above the NBA. Now that brings me to last weekend, the NBA All Star Game. Now, for hardcore basketball fans, this is a game that people look forward to. And there are fans of his that look forward to watching him in this environment. But it was on the 11th hour, Tim, that he pulled himself out of the NBA All Star game for whatever reason. He went and did the photo shoots and all this shit with the Western Conference All Stars. He was not in uniform. He was in his plain street clothes. Everybody else was in uniform. The dude wouldn't even put a fucking jersey on to get a waist up shot. But here's my problem. He waited, he knew damn well, he knew damn well, well in advance, that he was not going to play in this game. So essentially, he robbed another player, a deserving player, a
Of that
spot
spot.
on that team because of his ego and because of where he puts himself among everybody else in the National Basketball Association. It is because of this mentality that this man, in my view, I don't give a fuck how many baskets he scores. I don't care how many titles he wins. He will never be the greatest of all time because the greatest of all time isn't just what you do on the court, it's what you do off of it as well. What's your takeaway on this?
I mean, I feel the exact same way that you do. I put a lot of the downfall on the NBA and why I don't enjoy watching as much as I used to in the 90s on LeBron James because not only is it stuff like this, I mean, like you said, he robbed somebody of that spot knowing that he wasn't going to play in it. And I don't know the details of it, if he's injured, whatnot, but you think they would come out and say, like, hey, we're going to, LeBron's injured. They're going to rotate out for somebody else, the next deserving spot. But, his ego doesn't even allow for that to happen. He's got to show up to do all that other stuff, but decide that he's not going to play in the game. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? But I put a lot of the downfall in the NBA on him because, I mean, with him started the super teams.
Yep.
And that's been the downfall because you build a super team and nobody else in the league can compete. And right now we're all excited because our Pistons are actually doing pretty good. I know they took a few losses last week, but they're still well within the hunt for a playoff spot, which is exciting as hell. But do they match up against the Lakers? I mean, with that trade that just went down recently, there's no fucking way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unfortunately, it's another super team, and I'm sick of super teams. I wish there was a salary cap on the NBA, and these teams couldn't do this, so it would make the whole league competitive instead of just having two or three teams in this league that are truly competitive.
It makes me wonder why this shit's allowed. And it makes me want to take the time to do a deep dive. Like something like this, this is where I would start compiling a bunch of different numbers and facts and figures. TV ratings for one. It
They
has
tank.
right.
NBA
We
sucks with ratings.
NBA and this is the part that got me, like we've had conversations about this last year because um, the the Turner Broadcasting channels networks, TBS, TNT, have been high profile partners with the NBA. And everything got put on hold until they got their contract extensions worked out,
Yeah.
because the numbers aren't really generating the way that they used to, and people are like, why? I can tell you why. Because there is that contingent of hardcore NBA fans that will watch no matter what, and I do appreciate that when you have that kind of fanfare for a sport regardless of the state that it's in. And maybe it's because I'm an old school guy and we grew up in a different era, but the NBA in the 80s and the 90s, and I can even say the early 2000s, was a hell of a lot more fun and entertaining to watch before the inclusion of these super teams that, hey, say what you want. I'll argue with you until the cows come home. I don't give a fuck. But it is because of LeBron James and his time with the Miami Heat, and then him being allowed to go to go back to Cleveland and form his team there. Now he's in Los Angeles. The Lakers are they're royalty in the NBA in terms of history. One of the most successful franchises in all of sports. The Lakers and the Boston Celtics. It seems like we go through eras where different teams are trying to make their claim to be the best of their conference, but it's cyclical, man, because it always comes down to those two powerhouse teams. This is where you talked about the salary cap. This is where it has to be implemented, because what you're getting two or three teams that have all the talent and everybody else is just there as glorified sparring partners, if I can put it in that context. The NBA is not fun right now. And it's not going to be until this shit gets curbed one way or the other. And how much further down do the TV ratings have to go before the commissioner of the NBA steps in and be like, something's not happening, and LeBron is not going to be the savior that we wanted him to be. It is because of him that a good number of fans have turned away from the NBA, and I have no problem if the Pistons weren't doing as well as they are right now. I would not be paying any attention to the NBA because I'm just over the whole LeBron thing.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% right there with you. I mean, and don't take anything away from LeBron as a player. He's been great throughout his career.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's argument there that he could be the best of all time, but I have argument also that like he's only, got the scoring titles he has because he's played for so damn long. If Michael Jordan had competed as long as he did, as competitive as he has, he would have smoked those numbers regardless. But it's just they need to do something. They need to fix it. And I know what the problem. They're kind of going through that ratings fiasco like they had in like the 70s and 80s where it was dying, and then it was kind of saved by Magic Johnson and the Lakers back then. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Great show on HBO Max of them. What the hell was it called? Winning Time or something? Did you ever watch it? It's
I have
fucking
not watched it.
fabulous.
No.
It's fabulous show. It's on HBO Max. Fabulous show. Watch it. It's great. But they're kind of going through the same thing that they're going through now. Like the ratings are diving. Nobody's watching. And they're not watching because there's only really three teams that are competitive, and who the hell wants to spend the time to watch teams that really aren't going to be competitive in the long run, and it's killing all the other teams. Like you look at the Pistons, they're competitive now, but how are they going to do in the playoffs against a super team?
Right.
Unfortunately, they're going to die off in the playoffs. It's just realistically when you only have three teams that can compete because they have all like your tier one talent on it. That's the only teams that are going to draw any ratings. Everybody else is just there, like you said, as a punching bag, and nobody's going to watch those other teams. So it's killing the league slowly but surely. It's killing the league. Rating shows people aren't watching or going to the games. You're not making fucking money. So you need to change something, and you need to stop this shit. And salary caps need to be implemented. But I wonder, are they too deep? Is this whole thing too deep now where they can't get out of it? I mean, now we're talking, players getting super contracts and all this other shit. Like, what the fuck is a super? We need an NBA person, please, for the love of God. Anybody listening to this that follows the NBA, please join this show. Same thing with the NHL because I need to understand this a little bit more. Because when I used to really follow the NBA, we didn't have super contracts. Like, what the fuck is a super contract?
Right.
But regardless, like if they don't change something, and I don't know if they're too deep into it, You know, they might be too deep to turn back, but if they don't change them, NBA is going to die. It's just literally going to die. You're going to have three teams left playing against each other because none of the other teams are going to survive. And that's what you have to look at. You got to have these owners out here going, what the fuck do we do? You know what I mean? Unless we attract one player who can attract the other player, and then we totally bankrupt on our entire team to try to win something, what can we do? You know, we're just here kind of floating. You know, like we're making a little bit. They're probably not even making money. Like chances are, most of these teams are probably fucking losing money at this point because nobody's going to the games. Luckily, the Pistons are doing good right now, so they've been picking up a little bit of fanfare. They're probably making a little bit of money right now, but in turn, are they making enough to be able to turn around to build a team that could compete with the super team? Probably not.
No, I would suggest not because especially when you look at the state of the Pistons, they haven't been relevant in a minute, and
Yeah.
when they're home, Little Caesars Arena is not what you would call standing room only. Plenty of
No.
great seats available for any game, and to the point to where the team starts offering these outrageous you know these deals on tickets. Buy a family 4-pack for $55. Well, okay, that's great and everything, but they're counting on them getting these people into the arenas, buying the $15 slices of pizza, the $9 cups of beer,
The
and
hundred
then
forty dollar
they're count.
jersey.
Right, then you go into the whole merchandising thing, into the team store and stuff like that. Like that's what they're banking on. But up until recently, like we've said, up until the Pistons have started to turn things around, all of a sudden, 8 9 weeks ago, this was not a thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh shit, the Pistons are the Pistons. They're in the bottom of the NBA again." That's not necessarily the case. They're trying to turn things around. They have people excited. That's the whole. We talked last week about the fan culture in these different cities, and Detroit is one of them.
Hmm.
We're not a solo superstar city. We are a team effort, and now you talked about grit and all that stuff. So they're starting to formulate into an actual team, and it has people excited. I am cautiously optimistic about where this team is going. But it does come back down to the fact that if these other owners, the decision makers within the NBA, if they don't do something to pull themselves out of this rut, and that's what they're in, um, the future is not very bright in terms of the business side of the NBA because it takes more than two or three teams. It takes more than the Los Angeles Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics. And there's 30 teams in this fucking league. You know what I mean? So like we have to spread it out because otherwise, you're I man, I know people are listening to this are like, nope, this is just the way the NBA is now. Well, that's fine. If
It
this
shouldn't
is
be.
how it truly is now, I give it 10 more years and they won't be on another major network. Because they will have gone too deep, much like what you were saying, and they're not going to be able to dig themselves out until the day LeBron James leaves the NBA and all the influence that he thinks he carries with him. Just my opinion.
I mean, I can get right along with that opinion. I don't know if it'll happen as soon as he leaves because I don't know if they're too deep. Like I was saying,
Right.
they might be too deep into the super team thing now, and these major markets are probably going to be the only ones that compete. You know, the ones that can throw that money out there and that are still are making money. Because honestly, I don't see how a lot of these teams make money. I mean, honestly, like you look at it's kind of like some of these teams in the NFL. Like, how do some of these teams make money? Like, they're the dog shit. You know,
Right.
there's shit every year. Like, how do they make money? And that's why those teams don't do good because they can't draw money, so they're not making money, so they're not spending money to make a better team. Well, super teams, they kill everything. That's why, you look at hockey. Hockey doesn't have super teams. They have a very strict salary cap, and you're not allowed to have super teams. They have
Right.
probably like these NHL players are making nowhere near the money that even football players or baseball players or basketball players are making. But they're making good money. Don't get me wrong. Like it would be life changing money for any of us real worlders. Fuck, I can't talk. But damn it, hold on, I gotta hit this. I just wanted to do that once. But anyways,
Oh, that was great.
you know, realistically, NBA, I don't even give it 10 years, to be honest. If it keeps going on the trajectory that it's going on, it's not even going to be 10 years. I give it 5, because as soon as the ratings dip down too low, these, they're not going to be able to get broadcasting to put their show out there. And once that's gone, it's over for them, because if they can't get on TV, it's nothing. You're going to have
Right.
certain teams that can carry the league, but how many games are you just going to play Lakers games or, the Warriors games? You're not going to do that. You're going to have all these other teams that aren't getting, TV time, and they're going to be like, fuck, we're not making any money. So we're just, we're going to sell the team, or the team's going to dissolve. And you can't run a league that way. So they need to fix something. They need to get on pace with everybody else. Baseball's got a similar fucking problem. To be honest with you, when you look at it, there's super teams in fucking baseball, and it's killer. But you have teams like the Tigers last season who comes out and go, we're not a super team, but we're competitive, we're young, we fight, and they went as far as they could. But could they have gone past that next level? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's hard to say, because they didn't make it to that next level. But if they did, could they compete at that next level against some of these teams that are? I mean, look at fucking Otani's contract. It's ridiculous. I know he's not making a lot of money right now, and honestly, I don't. I question the fact of whether or not, when the time comes, are the Dodgers going to be able to exist with the way they're writing contracts now? It's ridiculous, where you put it all on the back end. Where do you get that fucking money from? How do you pay this guy all on the back end? Like, you have to raise his money and have it from somewhere, or are you just gonna fucking screw him and claim bankruptcy and be like, I can't pay you? Like, how does all that work? There's got to be some lawyers involved. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. It's all fucked up. But the Dodgers are going to be in trouble as soon as these contracts start running out with the way they're running them. And, there's going to be other teams that follow. It's like baseball needs to get their shit in check too a little bit.
No, and you bring up a great point, and I feel like with the case of the Dodgers, and we'll make this transition over to baseball, because there's a couple of headlines in baseball I want to touch on this week. Um, they're like, in the case of the Dodgers, I feel like what they're doing is they're rolling the dice on themselves.
Yeah.
They do have that mentality of having the cart before the horses here, especially with Otani, because he is such a phenom at this point, at this stage, in this era, and everybody was clamoring for him. Once he established himself as, this is an all around player with the Angels, it was, in the Angels, all with all due respect, are not considered a contending team. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be in the thick of it, but they're not going to be the odds-on favorite. Whereas Los Angeles Dodgers, with the longevity, with the history of the franchise, you're talking about some of the greatest players of all time have worn that jersey. They went out and they got Shohei Otani, but they're also doing is they're putting all these different pieces in place so they can continuously be in the running or win multiple World Series. When you are a World Series champion, that's obviously going to garner more attention, more avenue for advertising sales and things of this nature. And let's not forget the ticket sales to get into Dodger Stadium. I did see a graphic, last week, it was, where people were comparing ticket prices 5 years ago to here and now, and bro, they're up like 110%,
Oh yeah.
and that's what they're counting on. As long as they can keep winning, they can keep commanding these kind of prices. and especially in the LA market, they can afford it. Whereas you look at, let's say, Milwaukee, Midwestern city, blue collar city, they have a decent team, but they're not going to be getting the $500 a pop, price tags, because they have nothing to balance that out on the field. All due respect, we can make the same argument for the New York Yankees, who have notoriously gone out and tried to buy championships. The New York Mets are trying to follow suit now. Um, and then when you start looking at that side of it, then that brings us to the Boston Red Sox. And this is going to bring me to my next point this week. Alex Bregman, or I should say, Boston won the Alex Bregman sweepstakes. It looked like he was coming to Detroit. There was a lot of back and forth as to how can they make this deal happen. I wish Jim Burgett was on here with us this week. I tried to get him, but he's busy doing his thing. He's got a lot of opinions on this, and he ain't happy. Um, but it did come down to the wire that Boston was able to sign Alex Bregman away from the Houston Astros, and that is a huge signing for the Red Sox, and it's going to really put them among the favorites to win the American League this year. Look, we're very early into spring training. Anything can happen. This dude could be a total bust. But with all the hype that was centered around Bregman and where he was going to go, well, now Boston can kind of knock those ticket prices up a little bit, and
Yeah.
they're going to be selling a shitload of merchandise with his name and number, with the Boston logo on it. So they're getting new revenue that they weren't anticipating this time last year.
And the
So,
prices of jerseys this year, like,
oh my
holy
God.
shit. Chase just went. We went to the mall a few weeks ago, and with his Christmas money, he wanted a Tigers jersey, so he picked up a Gary Carpenter jersey. It's $150 for a
For a
python.
kid's jersey.
For a kid's, well, no, it's an adult small. He's
Okay.
kind of moved up into that area. He's tall enough to be there now. Now he's almost like 5'8", 5'9", or some shit. But he's growing like a fucking weed right now. But the $150 for a fucking jersey, like I hate paying $130 for a football fucking jersey. Like these things should not be this high. But certain players demand that price, which is why you can have all players demand that price. You know what I mean? It's the money being made there. And yeah, you're right. Like this is going to be huge for the Red Sox, but the Red Sox is another one of those, unfortunately, large market teams that can spend more money than everybody else who can attract these type of players.
And that brings me to my next point of conversation here. Staying within MLB, um, there's going to be a number of teams that are going to be looking at Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who has failed to come to terms on a long-term extension with the Toronto Blue Jays. All intents and purposes, unless something comes down the wire, this will be Vladdy's last year with Toronto. So you've got to believe that there's going to be, obviously a player of that caliber is going to generate a lot of interest from every team in MLB. But let's be realistic with the success that he's had in Toronto, and I don't think that we've seen him at his peak yet. Like this kid is still, he's his best years are still ahead of him, barring major injury.
Yeah.
So you're going to see teams like Milwaukee, Miami, St. Louis, that are going to be clamoring for that power hitter, and he most certainly is that. But he's what sucks is he's going to wind up going to a Los Angeles or a New York or a Boston because that's who can pay his salary.
Yep.
Um, and this is another prime example of why we got to get this shit in check and make it a more even playing field, not just for the other teams in the league, but for us fans that are investing our hard earned money to support these teams. If the Detroit Tigers are the drizzling shits, what is the incentive for me to take my girlfriend and our respective 4 children down to Comerica Park on a Sunday afternoon and spend all that money to get to the city, to pay for the parking, to buy the hot dogs and the whole 9 yards? Where's my incentive? You know what
There
I'm
isn't
saying?
any.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just, there is not that fundamental love affair with America's pastime anymore because everybody's so goddamn worried about wins and losses. That's all it boils down to. How much money are they getting? How much money are they getting? And then we get to the stadiums and we're met with sticker shock. Like, holy shit! You talk about $150 for a Tigers jersey. You can go into Comerica Park and then they have some of them that are upwards of $225.
Yeah.
I can't justify that. As much
No.
as I would like to have one, I can't justify that shit.
Yeah.
It's
No.
crazy.
It's ridiculous, and it's they need to figure something out on the majority of these sports to even the playing field. Otherwise, a lot of these teams are just they're just gonna die. I mean, baseball is not as bad as what the NBA is. Obviously, baseball there's young talent that can keep the game exciting throughout a lot of the cities. And let's be honest, it's America's pastime. People are still gonna go to these baseball games. But honestly, like I went to a baseball game 2 summers ago. It was Miggy's last season playing, and we decided to go, and there wasn't a lot of people in that stadium. Luckily for them, they did good last year, and they were starting to pack that stadium again. You know that's how they make their money. But when the teams aren't doing good, they're not making money. And if you don't have the talent on the team to draw it, you're not making money. The Tigers were still making a little bit of money because they still had Miggy playing, and even though he wasn't doing as good as what he was in the past, and he wasn't playing every game anymore, it was still that name out there, and it was his last season. Everybody wanted to go out there and see him, but that was the draw to get people in there. That was it. It wasn't because the Tigers were good that season, because they were not. They were not a
Right.
good. I think that was this season that they were risk of being one of the worst teams in MLB history, if I remember correctly. Which, luckily for us, they didn't get that distinction. I mean, I believe that Chicago got it this year.
Yeah, they did.
Uh, but it's just it's one of those things that, yeah, now they're doing good. There's going to be a hype, and as you were talking about ticket prices earlier with the Dodgers, I guarantee there's a increase in ticket prices for the Tigers this year, because they did so well last season. They're going to increase those prices, and it's going to become cheaper to go. 2 seasons ago, they were giving away tickets. This past season they were selling out that stadium. This season they're going to be more expensive. The same situation went on with the Lions. You used to be able to actually afford to go down and go to a Lions game without selling your life away.
Right.
But now the Lions are so damn expensive. For me to take my family down to go see a Lions game, it's going to be over $1,000, and that's not
Right.
including if we want to buy anything while we're there, or grab a beer, or grab a slice of pizza or something else. You know what I mean? Like, that's just to get into the fucking the stadium, and that's ridiculous what they're doing to the fans there. But I understand it. That's how they make their money. And if they make more money, they can afford to spend a little bit more money, barring a salary cap. On, like, I believe MLB's got some type of bullshit salary cap. We looked it up before. It just seems like bullshit. But like NBA doesn't have any. But they're able to spend a little bit more money because they're making a little bit more money. These teams that aren't doing well and aren't making money, they're not spending money. They're just kind of sitting down at the bottom, just kind of drafting people they can until those people leave, and they just have enough talent to operate, but they're never going to be competitive. And something needs to change there. And yeah, I mean, you look at any of these high end free agents in the MLB that are going to be coming up or not, there's three places that they're probably going to go, maybe four if you throw the Giants in there. It's but there's not many options. Nobody's going to be able to compete with that. Detroit's never going to spend the money to get one of these guys. They can never match the money that a Boston or a New York or somebody else is going to throw up to them to get them, and that's kind of shitty. I wish they would put a cap on things so some of these teams could get some of these players. And we're not. And I mean, if they have another really good season this year, they'll get into a position like the Lions are now, where people actually want to come here, and they'll take a little bit less money to do it. When you're chasing rings, even in the NFL, this was all throughout the Brady years in the NFL too, and also with the Kansas City Chiefs here recently. Players will actually come there and take less money because they're chasing a ring. They're towards maybe the latter end of their career. They're still super talented, and they just want to come here to chase a ring. Hopefully the Tigers get back to that situation, but right now they're not really quite there yet.
As you laid that out, the thing that popped up in my mind was that's what we saw with the Detroit Red Wings
Yeah.
in the late 90s going into early 2000s. The 2002 Stanley Cup championship team for the Red Wings was a virtual all-star game.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to come here to play for the Red Wings because they knew they were the odds-on favorites to at least get to the Stanley Cup finals. We could sit here all day long and compare and contrast, like what goes into going to a Detroit Lions game versus a Pistons game versus a Tigers game. A lot of what generates the ticket prices and stuff like that. Obviously with the way the NFL schedule is set up, you only have a handful of opportunities to see your team at home. They're only there half the time, and it's like 8 games a year, so they can command any prices that they want.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at a 162 game MLB season, you have all kinds of opportunity, and you got to figure out creative ways to get people to go to your stadium 85 nights a year. You know what I'm saying? And this is where we get the contests and the giveaways and the special theme nights and stuff like that, which is brilliant marketing. But again, if you don't have something on that field that people are invested in, they don't make a fuck all what you are giving away on that particular day. Nobody's coming.
But by golly, we have a Cy Young winner on the field this year.
That nobody fucking talks about.
I know. What the fuck is up with that?
People have forgotten that Tarek Skubal is the defending Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest prize that you can win as a pitcher.
Yeah.
And we have them. Nobody talks about it. Everything that I have watched, everything that I have read in terms of the preview for this season, like they'll mention him as our ace, but with every other pitcher that has won the Cy Young, that is the preface to their name, Cy Young Award winner, blah.
Because maybe it doesn't mean shit anymore. Because
that's unfortunate.
You're not you're not the Dodgers, you're not the Red Sox, you're not the Yankees. You know what I mean? Does it mean anything anymore?
It should.
You can pitch your ass off, once every 6 days and be the best in the league. I mean, granted, that award said that he was the best in the American League, pitching wise, but does that matter if you only pitch once every 6 days and your team still doesn't, win the big thing? If you don't win the World Series, does it matter? And that's probably what I don't know. Mentality sucks. He's the best pitcher in the American League last season, and nobody's building it up.
Nope.
That should be something to ride on this season. You have the fucking Cy Young winner on your team. That's glorified superstar right there. Let's build off of that. You know what I mean? But who knows? I don't know. Like MLB is it's starting to get fucked up like the NBA.
I mean, but how much of that is the Detroit Tigers' fault too for not marketing that?
Oh, they should be 100% marketing.
100%. He should be front and center on every piece of promotional material, whether it's printed or on screen or something like that. That's the dude you need to center everything around. The returning Cy Young Award winner is leading the 2025 Tigers back to the blah blah blah. Look, if you don't want to do it, we'll do it for you. But you're damn well going to pay me and pay Tim for our time. I mean, if you want us to do your marketing, that's absolutely the easiest thing in the world. Let's do it. Get me on the payroll, because you've got it somewhere. You can sell enough hot and readies to make that happen.
Just even hot dogs. I mean, you don't have to pay me. Just feed me a couple of hot dogs and give me a ticket to the game and maybe 2 beers. Like that'll
Listen,
get me through.
you're being awful modest. Don't
Have you seen the
shortchange
price of the
yourself.
fucking beers there? That's more
Yes.
than fucking minimum wage, Jason. It's more than minimum wage. I'm good. Okay. Games are fast now. If you give me 2 beers, 2 hot dogs, that is more than minimum wage. We're good to go. And a ticket.
I think this is why I have such a renewed and better appreciation for the minor leagues.
Yeah.
My girl and I went last season, and for the first time, I went to a Lansing Lugnuts game. Had a great time.
That's a great name.
It's you take all the corporate bullshit out of it. At least it's not on as full display as it is with MLB, because you got guys, you're watching guys that actually love and want to play the game of baseball, and things aren't stupidly priced, and it's a very much more family friendly activity. There's all kinds of minor league baseball teams in our state. We've I just mentioned the Lugnuts. They're I think the single A affiliate for the Athletics, who are going to Los. I almost said Oakland, but they're not going to be in Oakland anymore.
Unfortunately.
Um, right. The Great Lakes Loons, who is I think a double A affiliate for the Dodgers. Um, there's all kinds of opportunity to. If you love baseball and you want to just go for a good time, good family friendly time, while I am all about supporting the Detroit Tigers, I am also just as passionate about going to these minor league games, going to these minor league ballparks, and just see what all is available.
Yeah,
My
you never know who you're
you
going to
you
run
just never know.
into or watch play. That's going to be the next big thing in the MLB. It's the same thing with the, hockey. We got the hell is the Flint team now? I said 'em,
Firebirds.
the Firebirds. Port Huron's got the Port Huron Prowlers. All these smaller teams go out, have fun, enjoy it. It's cheaper. Same thing with the Michigan Panthers. With the UFL, go out and enjoy these games. Support your local teams. You don't know who you're going to see, on TV next playing, in the big leagues per se on any given sport. But yeah, you got to have an appreciation for these things, and I've always had an appreciation for the minor leagues of any sport at the same time, by just working throughout the indies. I was kind of in the minor leagues of professional wrestling. It was the same deal. You never know who you're gonna. And there's people that I worked with in the past that I click on the TV now and I see them front and center on TV and I go, shit, I worked with those guys when they were, cruising the Indies just like I was. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you never know who you're gonna see. Put in your time. Go see your local talent wherever they are. You know what I mean? No matter what city you're in, there's a local affiliate to something somewhere, where you might catch, a future superstar playing.
You see the stars of tomorrow here today,
Hmm.
and I really do appreciate that aspect of it. A couple of other notes I want to touch on this week. NFL came out and did formally announce that they will be returning to Brazil for a regular season game in September. Um, we've talked on one of the earliest episodes of this show that the NFL really eh, kind of pigeonholed themselves because they got to a point to where they can't get any bigger unless they start expanding into international waters.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of games played in London, the London series, and um, I do know that like Mexico City has hosted as several games, but now they're starting to expand into different parts of the world. Brazil is going to get an NFL game. It didn't tell me what game they're going to get, but just knowing that this is going to be, I guess, a regular thing moving forward, these international games, which fuels that speculation that there is going to be relocation of one or two NFL teams, probably in a lower market, I do know, and this is the one that I keep hearing every time this gets brought up. The Jacksonville Jaguars are always the first team that gets brought up. They're going to London.
Yeah,
They're going to be
it's either them or the
relocated to,
Chargers.
yeah.
Those are the two that
Um,
I always hear because those are the two that realistically could move. Florida's got a large market when it comes to football. They have three teams already. You can move one of those teams easy, and the owner down there in Jacksonville, he's already got connections in Europe. He would be the easiest one to put in Europe because he's got you know football, or as we call soccer teams, over there already that they
mhm.
could play in those same stadiums. And LA is another one that's like LA has two teams. Do they need two teams?
No,
Probably not. They could easily move one of them away, whether it be to a South America market or a Mexico market. You're going to start seeing them shift. And I don't even know if that would be the smartest move, or the smartest move would be just, and we've talked about this before, it would be just to add other teams. If you could add four more teams in a European market, you could, or, vice versa in a different market, it would make more sense than moving two teams because the logistics of trying to travel to those separate areas. If you had one team in London, they're either going to have to spend the majority of their time in the US, or teams are going to have to travel like crazy going over to London, and that's a lot to ask for any player to sit there and make that trip and play the next day and then get back to practice and play the next week. I mean, it's so you need more than just one team, and whether they added four in Europe or four in South America, that would make more sense.
and if I can be honest with you, with the with all this bullshit going on here in recent weeks with air travel, I don't know how excited people are going to be about this because the fucking airplanes are falling out of the sky like at an alarming rate. It seems like I don't know if you caught any of the news in the last few days, but this Delta jet that flew into Toronto from
Yeah, crash
Minneapolis
landed and flipped upside down or
flipped
some
upside
shit.
down.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Hey, everybody survived. If somebody
I
had
was going to
passed
make mention
away,
of that.
if somebody had passed away, that'd be bad. But everybody survived. So sorry. I've been
I was
drinking.
going to
I
make
haven't eaten
mention.
dinner yet, so I'm feeling a little buzzed out. Get me a little excited.
It's all right. It's all right. I understand. I would be right there with you, but I have to leave for work here
Yeah.
shortly. So they kind of frown upon that. Weird.
Yeah, I could see that.
Um, but anyway, um, yeah. So when you start talking about expanding, permanent expansion into international waters, the travel logistics have to be taken into consideration, and you got to make it economically feasible. You want to talk about bumped up ticket prices
Yeah.
that's going to sustain that kind of expansion, brother. You're going to have to start, you're going to have to find a way to make billions to make this make sense for the long haul.
Fucking
um
NFL is doing it.
they're trying. I
They've
think
reached the peak of their market here. They're trying to
yeah.
expand to other markets now. So they're making money.
Now, uh the last thing that we'll mention this week, and I brought this up out of respect for my esteemed co-host because I know he is a fan. I really have made a concentrated effort to focus a little bit on the world of golf. Self admittedly, I am not a golfer. I have never stepped foot onto a golf course to actually
Which we're
play the
gonna
game.
change that. Oh, you're left-handed, aren't you?
I am.
I can't fucking help you then. I'm sorry.
Well, look, I'm sorry.
I don't have any left-handed clubs. Do you swing
I
right-handed?
I am the Happy Gilmore. Okay, I'm just going up there and fucking swinging.
Yeah.
um, the Mexican Open is happening this weekend in Vallarta, Mexico. Am I saying that right? $7 million is on the line here, and Jake Knapp is the defending champion. from last year. Is this now? Forgive me because I don't follow the sport all that closely, but is the Mexican Open a high profile tournament here, Tim? What talk me through
For
this?
7 million, it's not really a high profile. I'm actually looking at the you know the the roster right now. I should say roster so people understand it, but pretty much the everybody in the tournament, and there's not really any huge names in this thing. You got Joel Damon. Yeah, I put it in the lines kind of like as the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. You're going to attract some PGA players, but you're not going to attract the big dogs. They're looking for bigger paydays, so they don't typically play in these ones. But it's still a tournament that leads towards points towards the FedEx Cup. Um, so some players will play in it, but I'm looking at the lineup for it, and there's no huge names playing in this one currently. Still, obviously, like I said, you know, 7 million on the line, but that 7 million gets split up, over everybody. First place doesn't get 7 million. That's the entire purse. So
Gotcha.
like first place will get so much, second place will get so much, third place will get so much. Trying to find who the hell is even playing in this that is a known name besides Joel Damon. And it's also, players just got off of playing the Genesis Invitational, which I'll talk about here in a second. So a lot of them are kind of taking the week off and they don't want to travel to Mexico for this one. Um, yeah, I don't think anybody else really besides Joel Damon is really lined up to take this one. But if we go back to the Genesis Invitational, I want to talk about this one a little bit. I did watch some of this over the weekend. Unfortunately, I was a little pissed off because I canceled my Fubo for the season until football season starts back up. So I wasn't able to watch it on there, but usually, typically, either Peacock or Paramount have golf on it every week. And Paramount had it, but when I clicked on it, it had college fucking basketball. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I want to watch golf. Like, you're showing me the final day of the Genesis Invitational. Click here, and it's showing me college basketball. But um, Ludwig Eberg won it, which I think was crazy because there's a lot of people who bet on him, and he was like 25 to 1 to win that thing. So a lot of people won a lot of money off of him. Scotty Scheffler, we had talked about the week before, placed like 23rd the week before. He worked his way up to tied for third in this tournament. Tony Finau tied for fifth. Justin Thomas tied for ninth. Um, Rory McIlroy, he placed 17th. A little slow start for him this season, but he did win a tournament, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Wyndham Clark, 31st. I keep going on the line, but Scotty worked his way up to tied for third in that tournament. I think last week when I checked on Friday, he was tied, I think, for like second or third, and then Saturday he fell to ninth, so he worked his way back up to third on Sunday. So that was pretty good on his part. So he seems to be picking up this season. So we'll have to wait to see after the Mexican Invitation or the Mexican Open this week. I want to see what the next tournament after that is, because that'll be probably the one that we start seeing.
Your heavy hitters.
Yeah, your heavy hitters. We got the Cognizant Classic. That's a $9.2 million purse. The Puerto Rican Open. That's a $4 million purse. So you probably won't see a lot of big things there. But then after that, we have the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So that's like 3 or 4 weeks away. That's a $20 million purse. So you'll see everybody there for that one. Everybody want a piece of that one. And then you have the players. That will be your first major of the season. And then after that, you'll have the Masters. That's when you start seeing everybody. Those are big purses, and they're bragging rights there. You win a major. That's a huge thing.
Right. Well, keep staying tuned, and we will be bringing you all the latest news and information in the world of golf. Baseball, like we said, spring training is underway right now.
I
And
think games start next week, don't they?
yes, sir, they do.
I'm excited to
Yes, sir,
start
they
seeing
do.
that.
Looking forward to that. Next week, we're going to. I'm going to cut a promo next week on the TV rights for the Detroit Tigers. I'm not going to get into it right now.
I'm fucking down because I'm about to spend money on fucking that shit.
I've got opinions, if
I
you
know
can
you got
imagine.
opinions, but man, I have to keep up with that shit for this show. So I either spend 90 or I mean, my Fubo went up to $100 a month to keep Fubo, which I took a break from. Obviously, football season, that's something different. I need those channels, but baseball I can get on one channel and it's $20 a month, and I'm like, fuck. I'll let you cut your promo next week before we get too deep into that. But I'm probably gonna do it
Yeah, I'm. Again, next week on the show.
next
Before
week.
we.
I'm gonna do a dance. Sorry,
Oh,
and
I'm
I'll be
so
out of
glad
work
you're.
clothes. Hopefully next week. I was in
Yeah,
such a fucking hurry. I'm still in work clothes. Besides my work shirt, this is my undershirt.
I'm in my work clothes. This is what I'm going to work in.
I like it. Rocking the Detroit Tigers. Unfortunately, I can't do that at work. One, it's too
That's a
fucking
goddamn
cold.
shame. Yeah, no, no, doing what you do. I get that. I totally get that. All right, real quick before we get out of here this week, I want to, we've been talking the last few weeks here about the spring lineup for the PFC online store, and I wanted to, it is now open and available, and I want to take a moment here. Can you see the store?
I can,
Okay.
but can they? If I can
Oh,
see
they
it, I'm
should.
sure they can.
Oh yeah, because I can see it on my other monitor here, so we're good.
Oh,
All right, this is there's as of right now there's 84 springtime items, and these are just a sample. Of course, the Sports Reel podcast gets all of the merchandise because it's so easy to make. But this is a sample of the different baseball jerseys. These here are the women's jerseys, and then you get down in here, and these are more of the men's jerseys. All the great shows. There's one for the real podcast. So, in case Amy asked you, yes, there is a real
that's
podcast
my
one.
favorite show on the network.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a fan. Uh,
It's a good one.
we got Creepy Soup. We got the Fatal Four Way. Somebody bought this one, Tim. Somebody bought a Yellow Sports Reel podcast, and they bought this. Nope, the PFC. This one. I got notification on Sunday morning. Somebody bought two jerseys and two hats. And I'm like, God
Nice.
damn. Yeah. Makes me feel good.
Send us a when you get the fit. Send us a pic. I want to see it.
Absolute. I was
I
just going
want
to
to see
say
the
that
fit.
too.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, and we will incorporate it into our shows and whatnot. But also basketball jerseys, shorts are also available. Let me swing over here real quick. Um, Ringer tees, and here are the different hats that are available, snapback and Velcro backing, all depending on what your preference is. And then, of course, garden flags, because I mean,
Fuck yeah.
you how can you not? If you're going to have a garden, you got to have something to spruce it up with. So why not make it a PFC network logo flag? So
Damn right. Rep it, and then send
that's
us
what I'm
pics.
saying. Truth be told, I ordered a flag, like an actual flag, to put on my dad's house. He don't know it yet. It's got my face on it.
Fuck yeah.
So one day he's gonna come home and he's
Come
gonna
home
see
and
a
there's gonna be a
flag with
giant
my
flag of
face
your
on.
face flying in the yard.
Fuck yeah! Of course I'm gonna do that. Why wouldn't I?
Sounds like
But
something
yeah,
I would do.
pfcspring.printify.me is your one-stop shop for all of our latest spring apparel, or pfcstore.printify.me. That's got everything on there. So check those out. And of course, pfcnetwork.net, the official website of our network. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, show topic ideas, anything that you would like us to talk about, hit us up over on the Sports Real Podcast Facebook page or the PFC Entertainment Network Facebook page. I think that's it for this week. Anything
I
else
think
you
so
want to
too.
throw out there?
Just your just let's yeah, that's it. Can't wait till next week. I want to hear your promo
Oh,
on the old channel that I'm gonna have to subscribe to just to watch fucking Tigers baseball. It pisses me off.
baseball TV rights coming next week,
Yeah,
and I've got opinions on it. So
let's get our buddy on for it. Old
I'm going to
Jim.
make every effort.
I'm sure that he's got a few opinions on that whole thing as well.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
In fact, I've
So
heard some of the opinions, so quite entertaining.
we will try to get Jim on here, and we appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight as we live stream this, or if you
Hi,
tuned
everyone.
in through the RSS feed. So
And if
go
you
out this week,
watch, please go to the sports reel and just hit like. Trying to get more
like,
likes on that page. Just
like,
like it.
and share.
Like and
Yes.
share. It's not that hard, just to like and share. A lot of people watch this show. If we could just get the majority of you just to like and share, it'd make our life a lot better.
Literally, it's a click of the button.
Yes. It's not that hard.
No. Anyway, we appreciate you all. Tim, I appreciate you. Looking forward to talking with you next week. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other. And we'll see you next Wednesday night right here on the Sports Reel podcast on the PFC Entertainment Network.
Go Lions. Go Chiefs. Go Tigers. Red Wings. Pistons. Go
All
everyone.
of them.
Go me.
All right.
Man, we're uploaded already. Cool. All right. Now
Yes,
I got to
sir.
pee. I've had
Go
to for
pee,
like
go
20
eat dinner.
minutes. Yes.
And I guess we're gonna be I'm gonna be recording with Amy on Friday. So
Oh,